Welcome to This Week in Morgan County. I'm your host, Russell Mokhiber. Our guest this week is Kim Johnson-Nickles. She's running as a Republican for county clerk here in Morgan County. She'll be on the May 10th ballot posed by Kate Stotler. There's no Democrat in the race, so if you want to vote in that election, you either have to be a Republican, or if you're no party, take the Republican ballot. That's going to be unfortunately the same for sheriff and county commissioner. So if you want to vote in the presidential Democratic race and you're an independent, you're going to lose out on all these races. Anyway, Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You were born here in Morgan County?
Yes. I was born and raised here.
Graduate of Berkeley Springs High School?
Yep, in 1982.
And tell us what you've been doing since then.
When I graduated in 1982, I was somebody that got married, had a child, and graduated all in the same year. Once I got married, 2 years later, I had another child. And then from there, I have worked, I started working here in Morgan County at Cool Font. Of course, A lot of people had their first job at Cool Font. Went from there, worked at Fairfax Restaurants.
What did you do at Cool Font?
I was just a bus girl.
Okay. And
then I was a waitress at Fairfax Restaurant. I went from there to...
Where was the Fairfax?
It's right where Barb Wolf has her place with the T-shirts and the souvenirs.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
Yes, right. And then from there I went to Southern Bell Truck Stop. Then from there I had moved to Berkeley County for a few years. I worked 13 years at a place called Food for Less.
Supermarket?
Yes, it was a supermarket down there, and I worked there for 13 years until they closed in 2001. There I was a department manager of health and beauty aids, shipping and receiving. I was also a manager there. And then before they closed, I was assistant manager of the bakery. Once they closed, I had 6 months off and did the unemployment thing, and then this job came available.
What year was that?
That was in 2002, is when I got, February of 2002 is when I got the job as deputy clerk part-time. Once I was the part-time in 2003, the lady that was doing the estates, she got pregnant, and I was told to go over and learn her job. And she just left like a week later. So I kind of trained myself and had help through the state, and some of the attorneys helped me. It was hard trying to learn everything that had to do with the estates itself when you start out from ground zero. But I'm glad I stuck with it. Been doing it for 13 years. It's been my main job. Of course, I help out into the office too, where we do a lot of the other county work.
You are dealing with estates. That means, are you dealing primarily with attorneys, or tell us exactly what do you do? What do you do?
Well, when somebody dies, then they'll call and say, what do I need to bring in? Like they'll bring the will if there's a will. If not, they'll just bring the death certificate. They come in, they open the estate. I explain to them how to do the appraisement on the estates and help them do that if they need help with that. We advertise in the paper for the creditors, and then at some point we do the final settlement.
How many estates do you do a year?
Oh, together, I think in the last 13 years, I've done probably 1,300.
About 100 a year, right?
Yes, about 100 a year. It all depends. Some years are a little slower than others, and then some part of the years are busier than others.
Have you ever run for public office?
Never.
This is your first time?
This is my first time. My boss is retiring, and
give us the thought process that went through your decision to run for office.
Well, I figured I started at the bottom and worked my way up and tried to learn as much about the job as I could, so one day that I would get this opportunity to do this. My dad died a couple of years ago, and his thought was if the opportunity ever arose to please try and take it, because he believed in what I knew and what I could do.
Debra Keyes is the current county commissioner.
County clerk.
County clerk. And she's been in the position for? Since
Ralph Shambaugh passed away, which I believe it was in 2000. It was either 99 or 2000 he passed away. And then she got appointed to that office, and then she has ran twice.
Okay. Is there a term limit on county clerk?
No.
You can be run
forever.
Forever if you want. How long has she been in the office?
She's been in that office. When Ralph was in the tax office, he took her with him, and over into the county clerk's office. And she used to do the budget, took care of the, keeping track of the budget and everything for everybody.
Did you mention that she's been in the clerk's office for 40 years or something?
Well, she's been in the courthouse for 43 years.
She had other jobs there.
Yes, I believe she started out in the assessor's office and the tax office, and then she's now went to the county clerk's office. When Ralph went and one county clerk, he took her with him.
What is the pay of the county clerk? What is it?
$59,875.
All right, and give us a little bit about the office. How many people are they? What do they do?
There is 5 of us that work in there, and then the county clerk would make 6. Everybody has their own jobs. Like there's some that takes care of, like taking care of when you bring in your mortgage and your releases. A lady takes care of that. She takes care of like when somebody gets married, brings the application back, then she records that and sends one to the state. There's one that takes care of the deeds. And she also takes care of the judgments, the election. Right now she's pretty busy because now she's up programming the machines for the election. So that takes about a week to do those. Voter registration. There's a lady that takes care of the payroll, the health insurance. There's a lady that takes care of paying the bills and keeping track of the money for every office that has their budget.
What are you're running against Kate Stotler. Kate Stotler is a former or current teacher at the high school, and she's had a lot of young people go through her class who really like her class.
Right.
What are the issues why are you better qualified than Kate Stotler? What are the issues between
Well, I know the ins and outs of the office. I've been there that long. Because it is a hard job. I mean, to know if you want to help people, because, we do marriage licenses, birth, death, and the marriage certificates, and the estates themselves is very time consuming to learn. And I believe that I'm more qualified because I've been there 14 years.
You know the ins and outs of it.
Yes.
That's your argument.
Uh-huh.
And what about the elections? What part of the office deals with registering people?
Well, we all know
what do you do for the elections? What do you folks do?
Well, we register the voters. We also make sure that all of the machines work. We do, and like I said, the lady is programming the machines now. When the election day happens, because we do also do the early voting in the office, when election day happens, that's like a 16-hour day. We start at 5 in the morning and it's until it's all over, which is usually about 10 o'clock at night. Whenever the precincts close, if the precincts have any problems, then we have to go out to the precincts to help them. When the election is over with, then they bring the materials back to us, and then we take it off of the PEBs and the flashcards.
Those are the electronic voting machines.
Yes, electronic
devices.
voting machines. Yeah, they bring that back to us, and then we take that information off, and then we print out for each precinct in which somebody runs it over to the county commission so that it can be read off, person by person in that precinct to tell who had the most votes.
When did Morgan County go from the pencil and paper voting?
I believe that it was in 2003.
Were you there then?
Yes.
Do you remember it? Mm-hmm. Do you have a preference? Because there's a debate nationally.
Oh, definitely.
And some people feel that we should go back to paper.
Well, they can't be hacked. I mean, the electronic machines can't be hacked because they're not programmed into any kind of internet. We preference the electronic machines because there's no way that you can cheat, miscount. It already does it for us. So we preference over that, and it's not like there's been I know when I first started there that when we had the papers, that one precinct was still there the next morning when we went into work. Because
Uncounted?
On counting.
You mean not counted?
They were still there counting.
They were
had
still
to come,
counting
they came
the
to
next-
the courthouse because they were at one of the schools,
Right.
which the school had to open, so they brought them to the courthouse then to count the votes, and they were still there when we came to work the next day, still trying to figure out what the count was because their count was off.
Have you had any problems with the machines?
We hardly have any problems with the machines, just like paper jams, just little things like that if we ever had problems with. I know on election day there's somebody that comes in from the state and he comes in to visit to make sure that we're doing okay, and we've always been a good county for them because we hardly ever have an issue. Just usually paper jams is what the biggest issue usually is.
Has Debra Keyes endorsed anyone in this race?
No.
She hasn't. Do you have a sense of how she feels about it?
Well, I'm hoping to think she's backing me.
Now, does the county clerk actually make hiring and firing decisions for the office?
What we do in the office is she initially picks people and then we pick them. She figures we have to work with them. So she's always made it to, a point that we narrow it down to who we believe.
Well, wait, so it's like there's 6 people in the office and it's like a group decision? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what we do. I mean, she narrows it down. She does the interviews, and then when she narrows them down, then we take turns setting in on the interviews with them, and then she lets us pick who we want because we have to work with them.
Well, I'm wondering if there's a couple things. One, if Kate wins or if a new person wins the election, whoever it might be, do they come in and do they put in their own people?
They can.
They can. And would you make changes? Or
No.
You would keep everyone?
I would keep everyone because, why would you change something that's working?
What's the relation between the county clerk and the county commission? How does that operate?
Well, we're the clerk of the county commission, so we do work pretty close together.
What do you do for the county commission?
Well, we do the checks and they sign off on them.
You write the checks?
Well, yes, we do the checks to pay the bills, and then they go in front of the county commission and they sign off on them. And if there's any questions on any of the bills that's been submitted, then they ask the question to the county clerk. She also does any of the problems that any of the, like with the budgets. If somebody's running out of money, they need to let them know that, so that can be dealt with, and let that office know that they're running a little low on money.
All right, let's go back to the election. What's your sense of how the election is going?
Just for our...
Yeah, just on this election, just on your election.
Oh,
What's
my
your
election?
sense?
It's, I've asked people what they feel, and they said that it's so much into another race right now that it's kind of quiet for the rest of us.
People are paying more attention, to sheriff?
Yes.
That's the big local one.
That's the big local one that anybody that I've talked to has said that's been the big talk around town.
Right. Now, so that's sort of counterintuitive because you would think that the race for county commission would be...
But there hasn't been.
There hasn't been that much excitement around it.
No.
Do you have a sense as to if the election were held today, how you would do?
Well, I'm hoping that it would be me with the experience that I've had and, being from here. And my dad was a very well-known man in this town because he did own a business here.
Yeah, tell us about your family and
Well,
the work of your parents.
Well, I started working when I was 12. My dad opened a business, Herb's Auto Mart, here in Berkeley Springs. So we were the people that went out and cleaned the cars, sat in the office when he would go away. And it was funny because I always told him, I said, if you ever go away and leave me here by myself, write down the colors of the car because I have no clue about cars. So when people would call and say, well, how much is this, 1975? I'd say, what color is it?
What was your dad's name?
Herb Johnson.
Okay.
Herb and Bobby Johnson are my parents. And he had that business for almost 30 years. And then he retired. He got ill. He got cancer. And then he passed away in 2014.
And your mom?
My mom's still active in the community. She worked at the school board, or I mean, that's in the school system, probably close to 30, 40 years herself. She ended up retiring. She was a teacher's aide for kindergarten when she retired, but she started out being a cook at the high school, so she knows a lot of people in the town too, and a lot of people know her.
Old courthouse, new courthouse, which do you like better?
Like the character of the old courthouse. I always say, 100 years from now, this courthouse will have, some character to it, but the old courthouse was just awesome.
How many people were, other than the 6 in the county clerk's office? By the way, what's the budget of the county clerk?
It's almost $240,000.
Okay. And other than the 6 who work in the county clerk's office, who else is in the courthouse?
Well, you have the offices themselves. You have the tax department. You have the assessor. You have circuit. You have family, magistrate. You have the prosecuting attorney, probation.
And the commission.
And the commission, of course. And then down the street, then we have the sheriff's office that's in the old post office.
But they're not in the courthouse?
No, but we do pay them.
That they're part of the county's budget?
Correct.
Do you have a preference for sheriff, by the way?
I better not say.
Do you have a preference?
I do have a preference, but I would just rather not say because...
Okay. Do you have a preference for county commission?
I'd like Jimmy.
Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart, yes.
Okay. And just a couple final things before we end. What do you think that the county clerk could do, the county clerk's office can improve on? If you get in, what improvements would you make?
Well, I would make sure that everybody did still keep their job, keep their jobs. Really, it runs pretty good the way it is. I mean, you never know what every day is going to bring because we do work with the public so much. And anybody that's ever been there, I don't believe has ever had a bad thing to say. So I can't believe that anything could really improve on it.
Would you keep the suckers on the front desk?
Yes.
Okay.
I know my boss is known as the candy lady, so.
But you would keep.
That's what she asked me too.
Would you go to M&Ms or would you broaden it out?
As she said this morning when she filled that basket, somebody said, "Where's the chocolate?" Yeah, can't keep chocolate in a room full of girls. So there wouldn't be none for the public.
So no chocolate, you stick with the suckers?
Well, she does have the hard candy.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're going to keep that. I think that, that might
that's
help you during the campaign.
Yes, it's one thing that has to stay because everybody expects it.
Right.
And she was saying this morning, I forget how many pounds that she has for election day, or during the, at least the early voting, because people that stand in line, they usually take a handful of candy while they're waiting.
There's no chance you could do chocolate and tell the staff that that's just for the public?
I don't think it'll happen because once you turn your back, we're in it.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, congratulations on your run.
Thank you.
And good luck to you
Thank
on
you.
May 10th. And thank you for watching This Week in Morgan County.